You want to talk a little bit about Verstappen
Sure.
and Yuki? Let's have that conversation now. Oh boy. What was Red Bull thinking? If you know the forecast is rain on Sunday, wouldn't you want Max a little slower but in a balanced car in the rain, knowing that more than likely, I would say 80% chance he wins the race? For the first time ever, Red Bull sacrificed their supposedly amazing aerodynamics for speed. What a stupid gamble, in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
It was definitely an interesting move. Um, One thing I didn't see, which I was trying to look for all weekend, but they never seemed to fucking show Yuki, is did Yuki have the same setup? I don't know.
I don't know either. They didn't show
That
Yuki.
to me, yeah, exactly. He seemed to be a ghost all weekend. And that to me seems to be the question as to whether or not Red Bull truly wants to try and do something or whether they've called it for this year. Because clearly that car was not set up to be a contender this weekend for anybody but Max. And if they set Yuki up the same way, they set him up to fail. And based on where he finished, I'm going to say they set him up the same way. So I understand why. Silverstone is a high-speed track. There is a very high number of high-speed tracks, or high-speed corners, either full speed, no lift, or top gear, minor lift kind of corners, right? There's a number of areas on the track where at best you're just backing out of the throttle slightly to make the corner. So I understand it from a Verstappen standpoint. We know that the car is good in the corners. It's very aerodynamically efficient. This year it hasn't been the fastest in a straight line. So it makes sense that they want to give him the advantage in all the high-speed corners. Silverstone has a lot of high-speed corners, either flat out or slight lift. So at racing speeds, you want the higher cornering speeds, effectively, the higher apex speeds. Ferrari went the opposite, and they went for better slow corner performance, right? Hamilton had a very deep dished wing on, and he was faster through the slow speed corners. But at Silverstone, that's not necessarily a huge advantage. So it made sense for someone like Max Verstappen, who is inherently better in harder to drive cars, to go that route. I think it screwed Yuki altogether. But for Max, it made sense. And the car was completely undrivable on Friday. I don't know if you caught any of the practice highlights, but it looked like Max Verstappen was a first-time driver in an F1 car. It was absolutely horrible. So they managed to get something together because he ended up on pole. So the car worked. But yeah, it was definitely, we'll throw it all at qualifying and hope the forecast is wrong for Sunday.
Indeed.
And it wasn't wrong. So yeah, it went bad for them. But again, this goes to what we were talking about last weekend, I believe, where the guys that could have potentially talked them off the ledge from making that decision have picked up and gone elsewhere. And surprisingly, the team that he went to, it ended up on the podium. So it was an unfortunate decision. If the rain had held off, I think Max would have won it. But maybe, Nick, maybe this goes to your conspiracy theory here. So the British weather is plotting against everybody to get Lando the win.
There are weather modification patents that were started at the MI6. Okay, that was just kidding.
Yeah, I'm aware, and I say that in jest, but it was interesting how long it took the track to dry. I've made the comment to you in the F2 race that none of the F2 drivers had the balls to go onto a slick tire when it looked like it was ready for slick tires. And then they promptly proved me wrong by switching to slick tires and instantly causing several accidents. So all of Sunday was basically punctuated by intermittent rain, the drivers providing feedback that the track was too wet, despite the fact that it looked dry, or it looked like there was a dry line. But truly, the track was far too slick to be on dry tires most of the weekend, which was unusual because typically that many cars going around on wet or intermediate tires would quickly dry a track. But holy shit, for whatever reason, it just didn't want to dry.
Yeah,
that I can't explain.
It rained overnight, and F3, F2, and most of the race of F1 could not dry it. That's wild.
Yeah, it's insane. And yeah, it did come down. Like all three races had periods of rain. So it was damp. And they started off on wet tires. And then it started to dry out and it rained. And it still just didn't dry out. We don't see that anywhere else. We don't even see that at Silverstone historically. These tracks are meant to be able to drain, but for whatever reason, that track held onto the water like a motherfucker this weekend.
Time for resurfacing, maybe.
No, I don't think that's it. It was particularly cold. Like Friday was warm at Silverstone. I mean, warm for the English countryside. But race day was pretty cool. I want to say track temperature was only like 27 degrees or something like that, which is insanely cold for a race in the summer.
Yeah.
So that may be part of it, where you just didn't have the heat and all those wet tires running around in the rain just couldn't generate the heat in the track to help dry it out. And the sun wasn't there to do it either.
Yeah, considering a week ago it was 50 degrees in Austria.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know it's different country, but similar latitude. You thought it would translate, but I guess not.
Yeah.
I wish Red Bull did this 6 months ago or 4 months ago or whatever now. They've been lying to us, right? Like the time to experiment was right away. Not pretend like you were defending champions seriously going for either title. Stuff like this is acceptable when you've admitted defeat. Let's go for it. Let's try something new. Let's gamble it. Let's see if we can find something I know, or let's see if we can beat the weather. If you're trying to win the title, that's stupid. But I'm almost going to excuse it and say, yeah, it is what it is now. You're going to probably see more races like this by Red Bull. And it's probably to their benefit because, like you're saying, on Friday they come in and have no idea what's going on. And it shows them everything wrong with the car. And they're able to adjust at least to that, knowing everything that's wrong. Sometimes you have to, like in hockey, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you have to lose a game badly to see how to fix yourself for the rest of the series. It works different in F1. You can't do that week in, week out, or even more than 1 or 2 weekends in a season if you really want to win. But if you're going to try and develop for next year, why not try some things? See what works, what doesn't. Yuki, what do you think is going on there? Do you think this is it for him? Do you think he's missed his shot? Do you think he just has lost confidence? Because it's really not looking good finishing last 2 races in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I think the team has given up. I don't necessarily think they've given up on Yuki. I think whoever was in that car at this point would be in the same situation. I think the team has realized that it doesn't matter who's there, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. And at this rate, I don't think Yuki's going to be on the grid next year, which again is unfortunate, unless Red Bull grows a pair and kicks Lawson to the curb and puts Yuki back at RB, which in my book is the best way to do it. Because look at Yuki's start of the season. compared to Lawson's entire season. That's what they should be doing. But then the question is, who do you put with Verstappen? There's something to be said about next year with the new regulation set, new engines, new aerodynamics, new everything. It doesn't really matter who's there with Verstappen because they're going to be starting from scratch anyway. So the car isn't going to be built around one person per se because they won't actually get any real driving time until testing I believe we start in Bahrain. So who knows? But at this point, I think they've just settled on they're going to get meager points, onesies, twosies from the second driver all season. And that's their season wrapped. They'll be lucky to keep fourth place.
I think they can only do fourth at this point. Because you're right. At best, yeah. This is it now. Just look behind you and just make sure you're not that bad.
Yeah, their nearest competition is Williams at 59 points to their 172. So, I mean, they've got a ways, but you never know.
Yeah, it's very rare that you see fifth get that many points in recent memory. I think Austin did with 200 something in 2023, but in the previous seasons, you didn't see that. So they might hold fourth. They would be very smart to keep Yuki through the next regulations. But smart decisions isn't Red Bull's forte right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And Yuki's just he even said it after at the end of the race in an interview. He said, "I feel lost," and what a shame.
Mm-hmm.
Arvid Lindblad this weekend, in typical British driver fashion, said, "See you in 5 years, Lando." I think when they all had the F2, F3 drivers, F1 drivers all together for a photo op or something, and proceeded to fuck himself the entire weekend in the sprint race and the feature race. So I think we'll definitely see him on the grid next year. Any other bads you got this week?
Haas.
Oh, wow. Yeah, let's get into that one.
Oh, well, let's start it off on a positive for the bad. That was probably the most choreographed, synchronized dual team spin I have ever seen. It was beautiful in slow-mo. We saw all the branding from all the angles on both cars in synchronicity. It was amazing. They couldn't have shot that if they wanted to. And that kind of sums up Haas's weekend.
That they couldn't have tried to be that bad? Like anybody trying to be that bad couldn't have planned being that bad? Is that what you're saying?
No, it just sums up Haas's weekend that all it was spins and nonsense. They went nowhere, and it was abysmal. It was like, which race was it where every time they cut to Lawson, he was hitting somebody?
Miami.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it was for either Haas driver all weekend. They were spinning, they were off track. Fucking Ollie Behrman crashed under the red flag into the pits or some shit like that.
Sorry, no.
Absolutely ridiculous.
No, that was Mick Schumacher, Sean. That's why they fired him. Okay. Ollie doesn't do that. That's what Ayo Komatsu said all of this year. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, he very clearly did because he got 10-place grid penalty and 4 penalty points.
Not going to hear it, Sean, that he's already on 8 penalty points, 12 races into his F1 career. Not going to hear it. Embargo, Sean. Ollie is the future of this league.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He's got some skill, but he still is a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Although that's a pretty big fuck up to make. And I will applaud the FIA for handing down that penalty because I think it was definitely merited. You're under a red flag and the requirement is that you are ready to come to a stop. Not go back to the pits at whatever fucking speed you want. It's you have to drive around the track to the pits with caution, being ready to stop at any given point. And somehow Ollie thought it was a good idea to drive at a speed that would cause him to crash into the pits during a red flag in dry conditions. So, yeah, not a great weekend for Haas.
This is where I think you nailed it preseason. You said the two drivers will let them down. I thought sixth was a lock for them simply because of how much they've grown year over year. But this is where Hulkenberg really came into play for them last year and helped with development. And Ocon is clearly a step down from that.
Mm-hmm.
And they are flailing when they need him most.
Yeah.
Ocon is looking worse by the race. I hope for his sake something pops or something comes together. Something probably. Well, something has to give. They're in ninth right now. And Alpine doesn't have a second driver. They're only 10 points away from Alpine. Haas finishing last is a distinct possibility right now.
Yeah. It's 14 points, but yeah, I get your point.
Oh, they have more than 29? Oh, who has?
They've got 29 to Alpine's 15.
I overestimated Alpine, as usual.
What was I saying? Or what was I going to say? The Ocon. Yeah. Ocon said something this weekend on the radio that stuck out to me. Not because of what he said, but how he said it. When Hadjar ran into Kimi Antonelli, Kimi had damage, right? And that is that safety car, or that's the beginning of that safety car period that you weren't fond of. So Kimi is circulating out there with damage for a number of laps. They pull the safety car. He's circulating out there more. They call him in, and they put new inters on. Mercedes called him in because they wanted to check the damage on the car. But if you're going to call him into the pits, you may as well put new tires on. So they put a new, fresh set of inters on. Okay. And they sent him back out. And Ocon took that as, that's a great idea. We've been behind this safety car for a while. Having warm inters when the safety car goes away is going to be a benefit. So he gets on the radio to his engineer and says, that was smart what Mercedes did. Warm inters will be better when the safety car ends. And his engineer responds with, copy. What did Ocon want, Nick?
Sorry, I'm not understanding what I thought you were going to make a point here. Like, he wants warm inters, so like inters that have been used?
No. He wants inters that have been in tire blankets.
Oh, which they can't do for wet tires.
For wet tires, they can for inters. I believe they can for inters. But my point is not that he wants warm inters. My point is that he never asked for that. This is a pet peeve of mine in general, right? People have an idea of what they want, but they're too chicken shit to ask for it. So they try and put the suggestion in someone's head without actually asking the question, right? Oh, that was smart of Mercedes. Warm inters will be better when the safety car ends. Yeah, they would. The fuck do you want, Ocon? Do you want warm inters? Maybe ask for that. Maybe demand that from your team. But also, when's the safety car ending? Because it didn't end the lap after Antonelli came out. It went another 3 or 4 laps after. So by that time, Kimi's been running at safety car speed on a cold track that's full of water. Those tires aren't warm anymore. And that's why Haas didn't call you in for warm inters. Because they have no fucking idea when the safety car is coming in. So you're trying to make a strategy call without knowing half the details. But also you're not asking or proving that you have confidence in your assessment to get the team to do what you want. You're just throwing out an idle suggestion and hoping the person on the other side of the radio picks it up. And to me, that characterizes Ocon as a strategic driver, the fact that there is nothing there. Or at least he's not willing to make the call, right? We talked about it a few weeks ago where if you put Ocon out there on a shitty tire and just tell him, go do 60 laps on this tire, yeah, he'll do it. And he'll get a reasonable position by doing it. That's his skill set. but I think that's where it ends. So
He's
anyway, that was my random.
That's a very good point. He's a follower, not a leader. He's spineless when
Yeah.
they need him to have a backbone. This is what we're doing.
Partially,
That's what they called. That's what they hired him for.
Yeah.
Are you looking for more leaders in your industry, Sean? Is this your cry for help?
No, I've given up on that.
You're surrounded by Esteban Ocons every day. I'm so sorry.
Sometimes I think it just might be easier to be an Esteban Ocon.
Don't say that.
I mean, he seems pretty happy in his own stupidity.
Which it's the burden of intelligence, right? We haven't brought up a philosophical principle in a while. Would you rather be Rick or Morty?
I wouldn't use that. I'd use Hemingway's line of what is it? Happiness in intelligent people is very rare. I'm butchering it, but that's essentially what it was.
It's a deep philosophical thought. I would say you lose. Well, to bring it all back to Ocon, to dumb yourself down to be happy, you lose your ability to lead in precious moments. I know from experience.
Mm-hmm.
I know from experience. And on that note, unless you have anything else you want to add from this weekend, I think that wraps it up there.
No, I think we've beaten this weekend to death. I will just say that I think it was a great race. It was unpredictable. We had some good on-track action. We had some mistakes. We had some calls that didn't work, and we had some calls that did work. So I enjoyed it.
I thought 95% of it was great. I already gave my synopsis. It was exciting. And it was, honestly, don't tell anybody I said this, but I was pacing the room hoping Hulkenberg got his podium. I might strike that from the episode.
Sorry, I'll just say this. I didn't watch the race until the evening, and you had messaged me, poking me to watch the race. And having watched the F2 race, my thoughts were, it rained and it became chaos, and Nico Hulkenberg got a podium.
You thought that before?
Yes.
Your text makes a lot more sense now. Because you said, ha, that was the first thing you texted me. It was like, ha. And I was like, what is he talking about? He's having a conversation in his own head. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm. And sure enough,
after 200, I looked online, by the way, it's 239.
239?
239.
Okay.
Yeah. I wasn't sure. I thought 280 seemed right to me because the more the merrier with Nico. We have a comment, Sean.
Okay. What is it, Nick?
So, we had the conversation a couple weeks ago about the talk, that Ferrari need to have the talk.
Mm-hmm.
So someone left a comment saying, his name is Ion PFRB. He said, the talk is not sporting. Rather, it's weak management. Strong management can run sporting with both drivers able to race. McLaren do that now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good point. However, like we've said all year, look at McLaren now. They're having a struggle trying to figure out who's going to win the drivers.
No, we're not saying that. This is the point I made last weekend. I agree with him. McLaren does do this very well. You want to push the narrative that they're having a problem. There is no sign that McLaren's having a problem. You see it one way, but what they're doing is they've created a team around two drivers, and they're facilitating those drivers winning races.
But they've still had to make decisions without telling us they're making the decision. They've still favored Norris a few times this year.
That's what you're seeing from the dots that you're connecting.
Oscar, slow down in Australia.
That.
Oscar, slow down in Australia. Don't race. We're going to let them race. Hold position instead. Japan, Oscar's faster. Hold position. What was the other one? Oh, Austria. Oscar wants to pit. Don't pit. Wait 3 laps. I think at some level, they were better off just rolling with Oscar. Oscar would be running away with the title. I get why they're doing it this year. They're trying to see who the top dog is, naturally. and there have been mistakes made for both drivers. But I think they were just better off letting Oscar run with it. And in the context of that talk, of what we were saying with the talk, it was with Ferrari. They've nothing but improved since Oscar's came in. Just focus on Oscar's development. Keep growing with him. You'll get miles and light years ahead. That's my personal opinion. He makes a good point. You make a good point. But I think, and we'll see at the end of the year, we'll reassess this at the end of the year, which way was best. I obviously am going to be biased towards my opinion.
Of course.
Anyway,
I think I know where I'm going to find my next podcast co-host.
Wow. Okay. You know who my second podcast host is?
Who, Nick?
Alex Jones. You heard it here first.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to need as much cash as he can get his hands on. So Good luck with that.
And on that bombshell, we'll be back after this first summer break. We have some summer series coming up for you. And maybe we should do a recap, a mid-season recap soon. But you and I will talk about that offline.
Yep.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Good night.